Can you talk about boredom and not really knowing what to do with yourself? Not because there's nothing to do, but because nothing in you seems moved. Because nothing in you, me, seems moved to do something. In you, sorry, not me. It's not really a problem, except it never seems like motivation happens, even for normal life activities. I'm not depressed, just sort of frozen in a way. Yeah. So after there is this awakening, what happened to me for a period was there was just sitting. There was not a lot of doing anything and just sitting very still and not really doing much. And the reason is because consciousness couldn't care less, or aliveness or presence, or presence is maybe the best word, couldn't care less about doing something or not doing something. It's absolutely indifferent to everything, and it's so self-content. So when there is the movement back to that, there is this indifference to doing activity. In fact, it could just sit there all day. Like at first, I remember it was winter time in Australia, and I remember just like lighting the fire, and the fire was so beautiful, like hours and hours would pass and I would just stare at the fire, and there was no sorry, my dyslexia gets me sometimes. Dyslexia has affects your speech sometimes. Impulse, I can't say. There was no what's that word? Momentum to move at all. That was just totally in rest. And at the same time, the days that I had to go to work, I was working in a vegan cafe as a chef, and there wasn't an objection to going to work. There wasn't an objection to walking the dogs, but there was also no momentum to start anything new. So yeah, I enjoyed the working in the vegan cafe. It was super sweet. Sorry, just having memories of Australia. And I was also helping look after my friend that was ill, and there wasn't an objection to doing any of that. It wasn't like, oh, now I have to do this, or now I have to do that. It's just, there could be sometimes in the body was tired, but a lot of the time, because like it was so strong and it's so content. It didn't contain boredom. Like I wasn't bored. If I was bored, I would have got up and done something. I was just content, and the time just disappeared. It was irrelevant how long you were sat there. And I think when waking up happens, and there's like this backwards and forwards between consciousness and being a person, then it can be frustrating for the person, because the person's not content to just sit there for hours and hours. It wants something to do. It wants activity. The person is like a doer in a way, like it always wants to do, create, to be productive. And so then there is no momentum, and then the person gets bored. And I think this is when like there's awakening and then going back to being a person, and then you confuse the two levels. So you confuse that consciousness, like who you truly are, like resting in who you are, with the impulses and the urges of the person. So if the person does want to do things, the person does want to be creative. So if you focus more on the person and more on the body does have an impulse to do something. But then when the focus is more on consciousness, then consciousness can just stay content forever. It could just sit there and let the body rot for as far as consciousness cares. So what began to happen over the years was I began to have to learn to focus. So not focus, but there was a learning of that, and then a movement of attention. So more in the body when you have to do things and get things done, and there's nothing there. Then there's just everything. The boredom implies that the seeking's coming back. That boredom can be there in a way, but it implies that the humans, like you're focusing on the human, and the human believes that it needs to arrive somewhere. I don't know, actually, maybe boredom could be there and there's no seeking. I don't know. I can't be sure about that. Everybody's different. I think it's quite common though when waking up is happening, because your life often does get reduced as consciousness like keeps coming in and being seen. Then the person feels less motivated to do all the things it was doing before, like out of stress or need or wanting love or attention or affection. If you want to find things to do, then focus more on the person, on the body. Impetus. So something in me rises up as concern that I'll never be motivated again. You're describing it exactly. Yeah, it's just ideas. Like if you need money or you need to clean your house or something, then motivation will come. But if you've got your basic needs covered, then maybe motivation won't come. Or if your house needs work on it.